Not like there was anything.
Recording's on.
Recording in progress.
There we go.
Yes, it is.
Everybody ready? Guys ready? All right, good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:30. Roll call.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yeah.
Trustee Hartz.
Here.
Trustee Moreland.
Here.
Trustee Thomas. Trustee Wolf.
Here.
Trustee Ah.
Here.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Here. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? All right. Does the board have any conflicts of interest to announce at this time?
Yes, I would like to recuse myself from 5G.
Okay, noted. Anyone else? All right, we're moving on to general public input. If any members of the audience would like to address the board not pertaining to items on the agenda, please approach the podium, name and address for the record.
Ron Blanchard, 627 Louisiana Drive. It's more of a request from the board and the mayor, and that is to start the process of looking into how we fund the master park, whether that's a tax, sales tax incentive or initiative, or whether it's forming a special district with a bond or taxing, however options are with that. But I would encourage you to start that process and let's get it going again so that some of the citizens can get out there and get after it and educate our community in the benefits of having a master town park and expanding what we already have. We've gone over the benefits of that. I'm in support of that, so I would hope that we put it back to the public and the voting public, and let's get it going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David Wyatt, 606 Buck Highway. I see my friend Jackie up here, and I just wanted to reiterate some of the points she's making with her letter. The primary thing, and I think Brian just spoke to it, we need a better mechanism for funding recreation. Let's do a district. I think that's a great idea. So, let's just leave it at that. I do know that Jackie had initiated that process one time before, and it's unfortunate that didn't come to pass because it would save a lot of hassle.
Thank you.
Cat Capsos, 525 Beveridge Road. I'd like to echo both David and Brian's thoughts. After reading Jackie's letter, I was reinvigorated once again to have the town revisit how we can get this accomplished. Maybe it's a committee, just like the comprehensive plan committee to update. More minds involved, the better. And how we can resource that. It may not be a tax, but it might have to be a tax. But I agree actually with Mayor Tarkington's assessment after 2A failed, that there wasn't enough education, there wasn't enough time. But we felt that we had quite a large support within the community, and it was represented by a narrow margin of a loss. So I think the interest is still out there. We should strike while the iron is still hot, and I'm in full support of that. Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none, did everybody get a chance to look over the agenda for this evening?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as posted.
I'll second.
We have a
Take your
second.
pick.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, we're going to bring up our grant request for the evening. We have the Pine River Valley Youth Sports. And I just want to remind everybody, even if you're speaking here or you're up here on the panel, please speak into your microphone. People are having a really hard time hearing us. Not me, I guess, but the rest of y'all. So speak up. So we'd like to bring up Pine River Valley Youth Sports. Please state your name and address for the record.
Billy Bond, 713 Current Drive, Bayfield.
You want to tell us about your organization?
Yep, so we just recently started up Pine River Valley Youth Sports. We've, as far as football goes, we've been under Farmington's umbrella for quite some time. And there was a group of people that felt like it was time for us to break out on our own, be responsible for our own, just our own program, how we would run it, how we get our equipment. Our equipment that we were being given from Farmington was less than ideal more often than not. And so through a lot of work and effort from especially even previous people before us, we decided to make that move this year, and so we've broken out on our own. We've created our own nonprofit organization to benefit the youth of the area. And so this funding would help acquire the necessary equipment to make sure that we can have these kids protected and make sure that that we have enough equipment for all those who want to participate. We look forward to providing a good environment for the kids of this area, grades from 2nd to 6th grade. We've seen the benefit what football can be to these kids, and we look forward to providing the best equipment that we can give them, and this funding will help do that.
Can I ask you, well, the games are all coming now to this area? You won't be,
So the games are still not all coming here. We are still part of the Four Corners
Okay.
Youth football program, which obviously would be Farmington to Cortez, Bloomfield, Durango. And so we try and schedule out, and this is another reason that we wanted to break out on our own, so we have more of a foot in the door of trying to request more games in town Bayfield. We would like to have ideally 3 to 4 games out of the 8 that we play in town Bayfield. We were less fortunate last year. We had one, and then they did allow us a playoff game to play here, and so we're definitely making a push to acquire more games so that we bring more people to our town and our families don't have to travel out of town every week. And so that's another big push from the board, is making sure that happens.
I have a question. How many kids participate in this, in the football?
So we are roughly around 80 to 100, somewhere in there.
And how many are Bayfield?
What's that?
How many are Bayfield?
I would say about 85%. So we do incorporate Ignacio a little bit. They don't have their own program. So we do welcome some of their kids here. The Ignacio kids kind of have a choice between Bayfield or Durango. They're kind of a flex city there, flex town. But we do primarily have most Bayfield kids here.
Are you guys looking to expand to other sports besides football?
Yeah, so that's why we started the nonprofit as Pine River Valley Youth Sports, so that we could leave the door open to potential other areas there. The Four Corners Youth Sports, they also do track. Bloomfield and Aztec are both part of that as well in their respective towns. And so in the future, we do look forward to a potential of track or soccer program or further that would branch out into not just the town, to give them more competition throughout the area.
Do we have any other questions from the board?
So the one thing that came to my mind when we were working with La Plata Youth Services is that they suspended the services to the town of Bayfield last quarter, so in other words, 2023. And so this quarter, they still have not recognized what our judge and police chief have determined how we would get youth services. And so we have, at this quarter, we have $1,925 that's going to be unused in that portion of your grant and participating agencies. So unlike some of the other grants, this is for youth, and if that's a different direction you'd like to go, that's going to be unused as first quarter, last quarter in 2023, and first quarter in 2024. And we still haven't come to a conclusion about what they're going to provide us.
Are there any thoughts from the board, or?
Well, I think if we're not using the money on that, then why wouldn't we use the money for him? I mean,
That's a lot of kids
Yeah.
uniforms are,
they're really
Outrageous.
expensive, yeah.
We've acquired helmets and shoulder pads so far, and that has come to the tune of a pretty penny.
yeah. Are you getting a lot of interest from other sponsors in the community as well?
We've just, like I said, we just have been starting this rolling. It's been quite a process. We've been advertising for some sponsorships. We haven't got many yet, but we are still pushing the
Okay.
sponsorship going. I mean, we do start football in July, but we're trying to get ahead of the game as much as we can. So come July, we're not trying to scrounge and,
Yeah.
fight at the last second to get equipment or jerseys or stuff like that.
All right, I'm looking for direction, and I would entertain a motion if you're comfortable with.
And you said that was 1,925 not used?
$1,950, sorry. I forgot the last $25.
I'll make a motion to award Pine River Valley Youth Sports $1,950.
Second.
All right, any other further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
Trustee Harts,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
Trustee Ah,
Yay.
and Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. Congratulations, thank you for coming out, and good luck to you. And you are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, and it's probably riveting, or you can,
I want that Bayfield football hat. Just saying, I'm seeing the sponsor levels.
we can fight over the tickets. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to our LPEA electric car chargers.
Yeah, so this came before you on a couple meetings ago, probably a couple months ago, regarding LPA has asked if we would like to take over the car chargers, which are right out here Town Hall. And I asked these certain questions, and then the board also asked that I do a community survey. It's very clear that the public doesn't feel, or that the public that was surveyed doesn't feel that the town should take these over. It is an added operation that we would take over. I'm not too sure we really have the resources to take that over at this time. Maybe in a couple of years when they've got tried and true and tested and can give us their actual income that they make from those car chargers. That they do say in here that they are making money on it, but it'd kind of be nice to have a couple of years beyond just today. So I mean, that's your call.
Yeah, I would let LPEA keep it, maintain it.
I
don't think it would hurt to throw in our newsletter or anything like that we have it here. I don't, obviously the community is not aware that we have these, but
I just feel like our staff already has enough responsibility on their shoulders. I don't really want to add another thing.
Agreed. I think the responses from the
got
public.
enough direction.
Enough
for you?
direction for me. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the Jackie Borland letter that you all received.
So I'll start out. Received this letter just before your last meeting, and I know that Nicole Killian has an update of sorts to give regarding the plaque or artwork that we would like to do in honor of Ed Moreland, Joe Stevenson, and the previous mayor that actually did all the stonework. All of a sudden, I've forgotten his name. But anyway, Herm, there we go. So anyway, I'll let Nicole give an update, and of course, Jackie Moreland is here via remote.
Yes, good evening, everybody. So we did put this on our work plan for 2024. We actually had it on our work plan for 2023, and we did apply for a grant in 23. We did not get the grant, but we did budget for our match for 2024 budget. So we do need to find some grant funding to help cover. We have some money set aside, but it probably won't be enough to do any sizable monument in that area. So it'd be just on this west end of the park is what we're looking at. So we are looking for some additional grant funding. There's a few that I'm looking at for summer. One of them is an art grant that tries to get involved community, mainly the school, but being summer, we probably wouldn't kick off anything till the fall with schools back in session, and maybe try and work with one of the art programs at either the high school or the junior high to get involved in that process. But there's different options out there through we have different art programs, and one of them also reached out to me. The Durango Creative District did reach out, and they said they're trying to expand and offer artist or call for artist support in other communities besides Durango. So that might be something we can look into when we're ready to look for this piece. But right now we just need to find some funding to get it. And that's what I have on that.
Jackie, since you're here, did you have anything you want to add or talk about, or?
You're on mute.
Oh, you're on mute.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes? Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you all. I can't see Nicole or our town manager, but I know you're there. Hi there. Sorry, I didn't spell your name. Sorry, I misspelled your name on the letter. No, it's just being out. I've been gone for 9 months, and I just want to make sure it's still on your agenda and that something will happen. I know you will. It's just being gone out of sight, out of mind, that kind of thing. I mean, Bayfield is my beloved town, and so if you will recognize Ed and Herm and what Stevenson, that'd be great. Now, if you want me to talk about the next subject, I'm happy to, but I'll wait until you ask me.
Well, I was just hoping that you were at peace with that answer. It's something I want to see that we follow through with the town. Definitely, I think we do
Me
need
too.
to honor those that did contribute a lot to this community. So,
Yeah, I mean, they did, all 3 of them, so, yeah. All right, so can I talk? about the next part?
we'll give you a minute. I know where you're going with this.
You know where I want to go. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to say back in 2014, Ed was supportive of getting Bayfield on the track to have a dispensary because of the money it could generate. I am following up on what he wanted way back then. This is not new. Here are your, I think, as I see it, your options for to get recreation really going, a park, everything that Bayfield needs to satisfy young children, especially our teenage kids and adults. And that is, you can establish a recreation district. That takes a lot of work. It took us 18 months in 1998. We got it on the ballot. It failed. But it was a different time. The other part, you can go ahead and get your sales tax. Now, you need somebody like the people that were there or are still there to form a committee so they can start educating people. So you need to let somebody know, whoever has expressed interest. I'm sorry, I don't mean to tell you what to do. Or, let's see, was that it? Or just lift the ban on marijuana dispensaries. there's absolutely money right there in your pockets. Why would you want to give everybody, make everybody pay more than you can get from the taxes that will be generated from lifting the ban on marijuana dispensaries? Silverton has done it, Mancus, Pagosa, Cortez. That has not stopped Silverton, for example, to have that small town feel to it. People still go there. This will not end Bayfield's small town business. It will just expand it and make recreation a priority for this town. And that's why I was the first recreation director for Bayfield, because I saw the need for it even back in the 80s. So that's my speech here. Of course, I never practice it.
All right, thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie.
I mean, if the board has any input or anything they'd like to say, or you have to
I
accept
have
at
one
this
thing
time.
I would like to say. We were very open-minded. We put it towards the citizens of the town of Bayfield, and they said no. I stand behind the citizens.
I will note that there was nothing in the Blue Book explaining how having any kind of dispensary or anything along those lines, when people were voting, to explain to them the pros and the cons. And so I would have liked to have seen, when I was a resident voting myself, the benefits of, because I did read the book, and I was like, there's nothing in here telling me why I should vote for this. So I like to see the pros and the cons when I'm making a decision, and it wasn't there, and I did not do the legwork myself to figure it out. So I would like to see that happen, so that, because it didn't lose by that much.
Still stand by
I mean, it was like, it seemed like a handful, and I think it was just because people were not educated enough to understand the tax benefit. But that's my 2 cents.
But it didn't lose by much, by only 9 votes when we put it to the public. And remember, most of the public that showed up were from out of the town of Bayfield.
True.
They didn't vote, but the vote was so close. You know that there are young people, progressive people there that are gonna vote yes. And too bad we don't have a newspaper, because the pros should have been in there and the cons, you're right. And I thought of so many times writing to the newspaper, but nobody reads even the Draco area,
So I'm going to go ahead and just say this, and then I'm going to move on from this topic. But a rec district, I think that is intriguing to a lot of us up here. I think it's something that we want to look into. On the topic of marijuana, I agree with Trustee Moreland. We put it out to the voters. It did not go through. I believe that ship has sailed. I have talked to a lot of mayors in a lot of towns that are no longer getting money from it. So I think it should have happened a long time ago, and I'm ready to put that to rest. I mean, if the new board comes in and they have a different direction, we'll deal with that. But I appreciate the comments. I appreciate you being here, Jackie. And
Thank you.
we will move on. We'll talk about the Sword Recovery Residence Project.
Yeah, so this letter was provided by Heather at Region 9, and they changed the deadline from March 29th to April 19th, which really doesn't give the new board any time to review this. And I don't know what the elections are in the rest of the municipalities, and the statutory municipalities are all going to have their elections in April, so. Anyway, it's up for your consideration. If you'd like to direct staff to continue to look for property or options, certainly would like your direction.
I just kind of feel like unless there was just something super obvious that stood out in town that didn't take a lot of staff time and investigation, I think it would be worth looking into. Because I sit on Region 9 and I deal with this, I think they're putting it out to all the communities, but I think they're really looking into being in Three Springs or Durango. So that's kind of my thought on that. But I don't see putting a lot of staff time into this. If my 2 cents on
No,
that.
I agree with you,
I
Mayor.
agree as well.
Yeah, it's got to, Three Springs is the obvious choice.
Right.
Okay? You good with that, Katie?
I'm good with that, thanks.
All right, at this time, I will pause our regular meeting and open up our public hearing on noxious weeds. Nicole.
So, good evening again. So noxious weeds. Katie and I have been reached out a couple times now from the county and then recently the state, saying that our noxious weed ordinance does not meet the state requirements for the Noxious Weed Act of 1990. We have our code has some language in there, but it really did not cover what was required in that act. And so the state's asking us to make sure that our code does meet the requirements. So I did talk to the state and I talked with the county, because the county does have a weed management program as well. And they actually have a really nice website on the county on the noxious weeds. But what's required is we have to have a commission that would make decisions from time to time on the noxious weeds management plan. We have to have a noxious weeds management plan, which our code did adopt a commission, but we never adopted a noxious weed management plan. And then we have to make sure that our management plan addresses list A, B, in accordance with the state requirements, which change from time to time. The weeds change. And then the county actually has on their website and through their management plan has taken a more clear look at what noxious weeds we have in our area. And what that makes more sense for us to look at those more specifically to things that they've found in La Plata County. And so as part of this, the town did adopt Ordinance 219 in 1992, but again, it's not complete. And that was added to Chapter 10 of the Municipal Code, which is under Community Development, which really should be referencing the Land Use Code. And so what we wanted to do was move noxious weeds under Chapter 9, which is our chapter on nuisances, and we believe noxious weeds should fall under that because ultimately they would be abated through the same process as nuisances. So then we started digging into Chapter 9. We realized that there was some language in the nuisance section that really wasn't legal. For instance, allowing the Board of Trustees at any time to trespass on any property if they see a nuisance. So we needed to just clean up some of that language and really bring our nuisance code up to date on how we want to handle nuisances, which is usually a citation, or first it's a warning. We work with them. And then if they ignore the warning, then it would be a citation into court, and then the judge makes that determination of how it's abated, whether how much time they would have to abate the issue. And if they don't do that, then the town has some ability to go in and abate it and get fees reimbursed. And that's the last case. We don't really want to do that. But so we had to relook at that section and rewrite that section. So really the noxious weeds requirement kind of led us down a rabbit hole of looking at the code and realizing there's other things that need to be changed. And since we were looking at that chapter, we wanted to make those adjustments at the same time. So what's in front of you tonight is Chapter 9, nuisances, as well as the noxious weeds addition to that section. The offenses piece of Chapter 9 is really dealing with the law enforcement piece. And I know Chief is looking at that because there's a lot of reference to state requirements and our requirements, and he wants to make sure that he cleans that up, but that's going to take a little more time. So we're really just looking at the Article 2 nuisances, and Article 3 is fire, open burning fires, and that section has been updated recently and it seemed okay. And then Article 4 would be a new section to Chapter 9, which is noxious weeds. And so the noxious weed section really, again, looks at the Planning Commission as being the commission that from time to time needs to make sure that the management plan is updated and bring those proposals to the Board of Trustees for ultimate approval at the board level. And that's to anything in the code, as well as making sure that the noxious weed management plan is up to date from time to time as well. And I do envision our own webpage where people can find this information with links to the county and links to the state for further information. But I went ahead and took did a draft noxious weeds management plan based on the noxious weeds, again, that the county has stated that we have in our area, There's control methods, so how do you get rid of the noxious weeds, and it explains the different types of control methods. Then there's the noxious weed species themselves and which type of control method would get rid of those weeds. And then the last part of it really talks about education and enforcement. We really just had enforcement. We went to Planning Commission last week, and the Planning Commission suggested we had added an educational piece to this because we really do want to educate the community and don't want to come down heavy-handed. We want to work with the community to figure out if they have noxious weeds and how do we get rid of them versus just go to enforcement. So we really kind of beefed up that section with an educational piece first, hoping that we don't have to get to enforcement and do education instead. And so there is an ordinance that you will see later in this associated with this, if you are inclined to approve this code section at this time. And just what I wanted to also bring up is that really I'm looking at the ordinance piece right now. I want to get some feedback, if you have any feedback on the management plan, or if the public has any feedback on the management plan. And then I'd like to take that back to the Planning Commission for approval in April, or recommendation in April, and then final approval from the board in April on that. So that's not in before you as a final decision tonight. That's just some direction, and then bring that back next month. But the ordinance, I would like to, if you're inclined, I would like to get a final decision on for that. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have of me.
I have one question, maybe two. I was curious, I understand why taking trustees and making them not liable to go on there, but I was kind of curious as to why it wouldn't be the police department and the chief of police versus the town manager, because I would think he would get more complaints about noxious weeds than the town manager. I mean, I could be wrong, but
I think
Yeah,
it's
the
just
distinction is that this is more of an administrative sort of search, which is generally allowed, believe it or
Okay.
not, under the Fourth Amendment. Not necessarily a criminal matter that your law enforcement would take care of, but more of an administrative matter that comes under nuisance statutes so as to protect the public good from any dangers that may occur. But again, in order to satisfy that administrative search requirement, you would still need a significant bunch of evidence
Right.
that amounts to probable cause that gives rise to that administrative search, so to speak.
makes sense. Thank you for explaining. And then my second question is, I noticed that we have a lot of species that we list on here, but thistles weren't one of them, and I think thistles are like all over the place. So I would maybe add that one.
okay. There's multiple different types of thistles.
Those big purple ones.
So the
Y'all know what I'm talking about. You see them everywhere.
The ankle biters?
The ankle biters, yes.
Those are-
I will research that.
Does the board have any other input or questions?
Yeah, Nicole, the only thing I thought could be added is we do have a few HOAs in town that maybe there could be some sort of partnership or outreach to those HOAs and property management companies.
So maybe in the education section,
Yeah.
add outreach to HOAs.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that it needs to be in the plan, well, yeah, it would need to be in the
Yeah.
plan, because I
Management,
think that they hire people to take care of this, and so they should be well aware of our management plan and maybe somehow be a partner in it.
Sounds good.
Any other? This is a public hearing, so I'll open it up for any members of the public that would like to talk about noxious weeds.
I'd actually like to move over this, I'd like to see the town's obligation, the town's what do we do, how are we responsible for that? Because if the town isn't taking care of their own needs, and then now we're expecting part of the city needs, there's a conflict, right? So it's happening everywhere.
Yeah, so I don't know what the town's current policy is on noxious weeds. I mean, I know Parks and Rec has their system. I know Public Works has their process in the right of ways, but the act actually does require the town to maintain public properties, and so we do need to be more diligent about if we find them using these measures, excuse me, using these measures to get rid of the noxious weeds on our properties. So the act does require that. So it's in the ordinance, section 9A3C. It says public lands. The Board of Trustees shall comply with the management plan to control noxious weeds on all public property and public rights of way.
David?
I have that too.
I know what weeds are here. We have a bunch of, and I remember being on the planning commission and doing the whole thing on weeds. And noxious, herbs and the other things. We have a lot of water deadly ones. Did you know that?
Know about hemlock.
What was it?
Water. Can't get rid of it.
How would it be in my backyard? Weeds.
I mean, it's so ubiquitous. I mean, there's a lot of these things, and it comes with potential ridiculous. But some things that we do need to control, Canadians, that's one.
That's
That comes in bunches. Now, the musk thistle, not so much. Shovel control that, get out the shovel, and all that stuff. Stay out of by any means. That's why it's not on the list. And the other thing too is when I look at the disturbed soil around town, I mean, it's like fireworks going around town. There's all kinds of holes in town, cobbles everywhere. But this is one of those things where noxious weeds in general aren't going to have these really disturbed places. So, and if you ever notice, for example, when you put in new cable and things like that, first thing you see on top of that is little sunflowers. They'll be there for 1 week. It's going to be rich, it's good. So there's some things you just have to just watch. Be knowledgeable about this stuff. Not every weed that we have around here is really weed. We can control with a shovel. A lot of it, you just mow it well. And keep them under control. But I have a yard that has grass, weeds, and a whole variety of things. I do not use weed killers on my yard. The exception for sidewalks. I mean, that's the one place where we see the ground just keep it under control. But let's be realistic about it for sure. I mean, we do need a plan. Education goes a long ways with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lauren,
32 West North Street. I was near what David's saying about the Canadian thistle, because I have seen this particularly whenever you turn the ground over, that's when they come in, and they are really hard to get out of there. We just purchased this farm over in Gem Village for Pine River Shares. They didn't, at first, they did not have the thistle over there. It was just regular weeds and stuff like that, but as soon as last year, when they plowed that up, to, plant vegetables and stuff, Canadian thistle everywhere. And the other thing, another concern I would have is, how are we going to police? Are you going to come in people's yards and make sure they don't have any noxious weeds? How do we keep that all under control? And I would be very concerned with what we are doing to control. Sure don't want to see Roundup.
You gonna start a rent-a-goat program?
Oh, yeah. Goats, you know what?
Goats love it.
Thistles are one of their favorite. I pull them up when I'm working for a garden. I pull them up and take them home in garbage bags.
All right, is that all the public input? Does the board need any more clarification or have any follow-up questions? All right, I'll go ahead and close our public hearing now, and we'll move on. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from March 5th, 2024?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the March 5th, 2024 minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, moving on to our reports. Corey, your Public Works report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Board of Trustees. We have 2 incidents to report on the water system. We had a water leak at 200 Dove Ranch. It was on their side of the meter. We were able to get it shut off when we made a repair. We also had a meter start leaking at 1705 North Taylor Circle. Nothing new to report on the sewer system. Streets, we're getting a lot of potholes now. We're working on getting them repaired as they come up. And we also, as you know, went to go get a pallet of cold pad and got pulled over because of a decision. Come to find out we're not in compliance with some federal rules that they will go with DOT get us compliant.
Job.
And currently, Jeremy and John House are in a CRWA conference in London. And that's all I have. You guys have questions?
Nope,
Thanks,
thank you,
Corey.
Corey.
Thank you.
All right, Chief O'Gay.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Board. Reference to what was previously brought up by La Plata Youth Services, it is a youth diversion program that works within our municipal court system. And back in the October timeframe, we had a procedural disagreement. They wanted us to handle it a different way. And with Judge Davlin and I researching everything, we maintained our position on how we are handling youth through the court system under due process and all their rights. We did not feel that what they wanted us to do was administratively correct in due process. So they suspended us because we didn't follow what they wanted. But I was following what the Constitution and what the courts require us to do. And Judge Davlin also supported that very much. We did meet with them last month to go over if there's a way we can work with each other so we can still provide the services to the youth. They were better in tune in what we have presented to them about due process and how we have to maintain the proper adjudication through the court system from Judge Davlin. So they've kind of agreed to that, but we're still in talks with them to make sure that the processes that we provide the youth is exactly what the youth of Bayfield or within our municipal court do need. So we are working on that still. And we have another meeting in April to review a direction between us and them. The key card system is in full function. One door is still not working correct. That's at the senior center. They'll be here March 26th to fix it the way Carrie would like to have it fixed.
And
So-
the door to the east as well.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yep.
That was in,
Yeah, I've been in contact with them, emailed a million times. I've given quite a bit of excuses. So when they're coming to repair that, I forwarded it to Katie. We're just going to keep until they come fix it. He was in Denver. He was supposed to be here last week. Never heard from him. So just kind of waiting.
so over the past 2 weeks, we've been implementing the new Spillman project, which is our computer-aided dispatch with Durango Dispatch, which allows our officers to be in direct communication with dispatch the entire time they're on shift. It's how we do our reports. It's how we do our CAD reports. It's how we are dispatched. Within dealing with that, we noticed that we were having a lot of lag time with our computer system over in the office. So this led to research on our internet speeds. This whole building, this side, has fiber optic. They didn't run a line to my side. So I still have the old cable lines. But within that, Fast Track is, our contract with Fast Track is only for 100 meg service per month. Spillman in of itself requires 100 meg service. So we can't get on when 9 computers are on. to do our work. So we had to do some research with Fast Track and ClearNet how to increase. So within that research, we had, with DataSafe, we installed a new firewall last January, which allows 1 gig of service. So we only are using 10% of what our firewall can accept. So with each computer system taking on about 10 meg just to turn it on and run it, with 10 of us working, that's our 100 meg service is right there. And Spillman requires 100 meg. And so we are not able to process our stuff with Spillman. So we have to go out in the cars, which we're still trying to get up to speed as well. So the service, we reached out to ClearNet to see what we can do contractually. And we'll probably go over that a little bit more when we talk about phones.
Lovely.
Okay. On a good note, our utility camera system's installed and all of our cars and personnel are meeting Senate Bill 217. Everything's up and running.
Nice. Good job.
And training, we are designing training plan for the new hires. We have one in the academy and we're preparing for him when he gets out. But we are also sending all of our officers to modern leadership training. Sergeant Strissel's going to one that's going to be Alita in Bloomfield. It's a week-long, more advanced first-line supervisor, and each one of the other officers is going to go to SWAT. We're sending them to design a better build for our future as police department. So we got a lot of stuff coming into play in the next 6 months of getting the training that they do need for the future. That ends my report for February, but March is going to be big.
Okay, any questions for Chief? All right, thank you. Nicole, Community Development.
Yes, so I'll just hit a couple highlights. Right now we have Tractor Supply in site plan review, and they are proposing to locate at 370 Bayfield Center Drive, so across from Momentum and the library in that area, big empty lot. The lot actually goes from Bayfield Center Drive all the way to essentially the highway right away, so it's a big piece of property. Porky's Smokehouse, they've received a building permit to go in at 581 Colorado Drive. I think they're getting close, so we may have another option for a restaurant soon in Bayfield. Our Dark Skies, we are looking at doing a joint Dark Sky event with the library. They have a Dark Sky kit. I just received a meter, a light meter from Visit Durango, so that we can start looking at measurements of light. And they also have a telescope, so we're looking at some dates in maybe early summer that we can do some sort of event and offer goodies probably at the library on their patio area. So stay tuned for that. I will also be at I'll give a plug for Dustin, but March 30th, don't forget the Spring Festival. And I will be there with the booth. You'll see me at the Spring Festival, 4th of July, and all 3 block parties. Just offering information. We'll probably do like a public safety information booth with the police department at one of the block parties. In March, I'm going to concentrate on the Dark Sky because hopefully we'll have a date for our Dark Sky event and just kind of spread information about what we're looking at for that. And so, yeah, put the word out. We'll be having booths at all the different events. And then I'm going to go ahead and skip to the back. Grant funding. So we just found out that the Bayfield East intersection received $1.57 million in congressionally directed spending. We applied for this last spring, so it took a year to get word on it. We applied for $3 million, and we did get the support of both our senators and our congresswoman for this funding. And so we were awarded $5.7 million. They told me that I will probably not hear anything else from the federal government on this until possibly fall or early winter. So, but that gives us time to wrap up engineering. We're still doing the engineering piece. We just revised the traffic study, and they're getting that to CDOT for their review. So it's moving forward, but it's great that we have some money, and I'm hoping that I can use this funding to help as a match to find some additional funding, because about a year ago, the cost estimate was $3 million. And CDOT's going to be able to give us some for the signal. We have some that we'll have left over from the $500,000 that the school provided after we do the engineering, but we still need, I think it's just this system speakers, but we still need probably at this time another $2 million just because of how things are going up in cost. So I still need to look for some additional grant funding. And hopefully I can use this. I'm right now researching whether I can use this or not for a match for some additional funding. And then Pine River Commons, so Charlie Albert's project at the Old Haga property, they were just awarded $50,000 a unit for the first 22 units, so it's a total of $1.1 million from DOLA for their deed restricted projects. So they want to do 66 total. But DOLA's given them $50,000 a unit for the first 22, and they're looking at the 3 phases for that. So that's awesome to hear as well. And as the board had approved in early February, we are still applying for another grant for them for More Housing Now for an additional $2 million. So hopefully that'll get that project down to a price point where we can see some good reductions in housing costs for that project. And then the last thing I wanted to, I didn't have on here was that the town just recently completed our ISO survey. Every 4 years, the town's required to do this survey based on our building permit processes. And the ISO is insurance, what insurance companies use when they're actually looking at underwriting for property insurance in our community. And so because we adopted a new building code and because we just adopted the new FEMA requirements, we're hoping that we will get a good score for our community. And we do understand the insurance rates are going up, and hopefully this will help a little bit with some of those rates. So, and happy to answer any questions that you have.
Nicole, have we seen any RFQs come back from developers for Salmon Heights yet?
No, and it's not due till April 1st, so hopefully. I know, I've heard there's interest of a few developers, local developers, so we'll see if that plays out.
Any other questions? The static, where's it?
I'm trying without killing her
Oh.
mic, yeah.
I forgot to mention one thing because it wasn't in the report, but I want to thank Trustee Ah. His observation of mud shavers getting destroyed last week.
That's an understatement.
Have made an arrest.
Saw that in the paper.
Okay, I just want to, you were part of it, I just want to let you know, but it turned out to be a bigger ordeal than what we really thought. So,
Yeah, that was crazy. I walked up and I saw all that water. I'm like, looks like there's a leak here somewhere.
a big one.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. We'll move on to leadership development and initial strategic plan.
So these are just words that the leadership team put together after our last leadership meeting, and just determining, you know, what does what is the strategic plan going to look like when we're just thinking about it, and then what will these look like later on when we actually have a operational strategic plan that we bring back to the board. So this is just kind of a couple words and ideas put down on paper. It doesn't necessarily mean that the finance director is going to retire, but she did say, just in case, have a succession planning. So just FYI, this is just kind of our first stab at putting this together.
Any questions on that? No? We will move on to our financial agenda items. Do we have any public input pertaining to items A through G on 5A through G? All right. Buckle up, everyone. We're about to talk about telephones.
So the telephones, I think we finally got information. We really had to go through Clear Networks and not Fast Track had its own challenges. I want to thank Kristen, she's here tonight, regarding putting this little spreadsheet together, because I kind of took it and revamped it to figure out what it's going to cost for phones. So on the the page 56 towards the bottom, or towards the whole page actually. At the top is really what we pay for internet and phone service today. We can't figure out how Public Works is getting internet, nor the water plant, nor anything else. But we're kind of, that's probably why we're struggling with speeds here at Town Hall. But we did kind of figure out the phone system. So when we looked at the monthly charge for phone system, we're looking at $614.99. We don't think that includes the fax at the fax or the fire alarm, because they may have to be analog. So there's a fire control system at the senior center and also at Town Hall. And then we also have a fax at the police department and at Town Hall. So we haven't quite nailed that down, but this will at least get us, we don't have to actually purchase those phones. So the actual capital improvement part is $3,877.50. And then the monthly service charge, even adding extra phones to the Public Works, to the water plant, is actually going to be about the same, because we don't know about fax and fire. And I did decide to leave the elevator in there because that's still a significant cost for an analog system. So this is the first part. The next part is the internet. When we start running Spillman, we can't operate in Town Hall. It's become quite a challenge. In fact, the other day on a Zoom call, which was fairly simple, just me and one other person, I kind of had to turn off my video and then had to turn off the sound and call per phone so we could actually have a discussion. Spillman, I know, takes a lot of bandwidth in the system. So when it's sucking up bandwidth, keep in mind that our whole system has to go to Cortez and back, and all of that bandwidth is just basically taken up now to get out of Town Hall. So the $2,466 a month fee is not correct. It did go down to $2,100 a month for internet. But what that brings is that's 1 gig, and Doug Seacat from ClearNet was just verified. That's 1 gig, not 500 megs to Town Hall. And then an EPL would go to the police department, which the police department is basically part of Town Hall. And then Parks and Rec phone, or the internet would be $178. We could go down to $128. I think that may be adequate for the wastewater plant, the water treatment plant, the public works shop, and possibly the park and rec shop phone. But as long as we're struggling with Spillman, it's going to be a real struggle. So even cutting out $300, it's still quite expensive to get internet at a rate that we can actually work at Town Hall. All the utility programs have to basically are hitting the server in Cortez. Almost everything we do is hitting that server in Cortez. So now we're kind of at a point where either we've got to do something, or we spend a lot of time just sitting and waiting, or finding a way around to this 100 megabyte narrows down all of our bandwidth.
Oh, Lordy. I mean, we have to have it. Like, nobody can do their job.
Well, if not, we're just sitting around waiting for anything to operate. And that doesn't mean that's many employees, not just. And then Spillman has to basically go to eForce to use a completely outdated system for reports, because they can't use Spillman. And here we've paid a lot of money for Spillman and cameras, and we've got all this technology, and now we can't use the highway to get in and out efficiently.
So is it the $3,877.50, is that the,
That's just for
Phones.
that's
physical
just for the
phones.
phones themselves?
That's just for physical phones.
Sorry, and I'm trying to understand the spreadsheet a little bit
I know.
better. What's the cost for the internet that's increased? Do we know?
The increase will go from internet is $12.65 up here at the top to about $2,100 at the bottom. So it's $900 more a month.
Okay, and then the capital cost, so it's 3877. Why are we splitting it?
What do you mean, why are we splitting?
3393 from the capital and 483 from the general fund.
Well, because the water fund should pay their cost of a phone and the cost of their internet service. The wastewater treatment plant needs to pay the cost of their phone and their internet service. Streets is also a separate fund. It should also pay for it. So they're split up between funds, which is before they were all just paid out of the general fund.
So, I don't see it split here, sorry. The capital cost to purchase phones and consoles is 3877. That can be purchased at 3393 from the general fund and 483 itemized per public works. So the 483 is for all those different ones, the water and the sewer and.
483, I'm trying to.
On your notes and recommendations.
Oh, yes, yeah. Yeah, 483 is just split up between the other funds, streets, water, and sewer. And they
Okay.
should be paying the cost of operations, just like
Okay.
they're paying the cost of labor and everything else.
So and they're paying, and that's for their equipment?
That is for the actual capital to purchase a physical phone.
Okay.
And we're not worried about the capital because we have plenty
You
of
have money
that.
in your capital improvement
It's the
fund.
$900 a month that's the issue.
That's correct, that's operational.
okay.
Now, part of this that we have never charged some of these enterprise funds is for phone service. So even though it looks like it's $2,100, now we'll be actually charging the enterprise funds, water, sewer, and then another government fund, the streets, for their share of this cost, which has never been shared before. And that's why we can't figure out how we're paying for it today.
Katie, I might be misunderstanding the spreadsheet. The current charges, the phone service is $664 and change. The internet current package is $601 and change. But the new internet package monthly is going to be $24.66 and change, correct?
It's going to be $2,100.
20,
Yeah,
okay,
they
so
knocked
if-
off $338
Okay.
in the last.
So the difference is significantly more than 900, right? 'Cause we-
That's, you're right, you're correct.
Okay, I was trying to figure that out. I was like, I'm not adding this to 900. So our current monthly right now is $12.65 and change, and our new monthly is going to be $2,800. roughly?
So it's, the phone service is $664 currently. It's going to be $614 with the new system and the new phones. That's just phones. Then the internet is the big
The internet's
change.
where the change is.
internet is the big change in monthly service.
The phones actually slightly go down,
That's correct.
but the internet more than makes up for it.
Yes.
Katie, in previous meetings, we were talking about the service. It's ending up being kind of a wash going to the new service from the old service. So this is where you're showing the 664 and the 614. 'Cause we-
Yeah, the phone service is going to be a
yeah,
wash.
were we talking about the internet service previously?
This can
No,
of worms
this-
kind of
this
got
kinda-
opened up.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, I don't remember. I just remember talking about phones.
Yeah.
No, they got their Spillman put into play this
And it
last and found out there's a bunch of
zonked everything.
errors.
And our data safe quote would have needed internet, so you guys had asked for all of those costs.
That can of worms.
The can of worms with the internet was that if we had gone with data safe's quote, we would have had to have better internet service as well. And then this moment thing just ended up causing havoc in the middle of it all.
within those meetings we had with, between Katie and I and ClearNet, we were able to get that 500 meg for the same price as get the 1 gig is the same price as the 500. So they gave us twice as much service for the same time.
So we have room to grow.
So I think the question is, and you know I'm going to ask it,
Of course I know you.
how are we going to pay for it?
So, so that's why I color coded it down here, because the enterprises should be paying their share of this cost.
Okay.
So if you look at basically the $601 for internet, which has been charged almost entirely to the general fund and all the operations in the general fund, now we're looking at approximately $1,400 in the general fund. So we have additional $800 in the general fund, whereas even though you see 20, or just scrape out $2,400, put $2,100 in there, the rest of that needs to be charged to those enterprise funds
Right.
and to the government fund, which is a street fund.
So when we go to the enterprise funds, they have enough funds to cover it. I'm
They should be,
assuming.
should be covering all the charges for operating.
Their
And a
operations.
phone is
Right.
probably important, and internet for all their SCADA systems is important to operate.
So what my brain is trying to understand is that they'll take a portion of that away from the general fund, and so therefore the general fund hit won't be quite as bad.
Quite as bad.
So
that's
where
correct.
does that leave us with the general fund?
So that leaves you with the general fund from the rest of, if you just start April 1st. And this would also improve, this would be about $7,200 in addition for internet service. And this also
That's
will
annual
improve.
though, right?
Yeah, that will
Okay.
be the last 9 months of 2024.
Gotcha, okay. So 7,200, do we have that?
So in the
break it out.
operations, we believe that we have that.
Okay.
And that comes out of the senior center, and also would come out of the town hall fund,
Okay,
operations in the general fund.
okay.
I mean, like I said, we have to be able to do our jobs here. It's been frustrating, and I would like to just move forward. I don't want to
Well,
sit back.
the way I view it, I mean, they have to be able to do their
Yeah.
jobs, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I think you guys have done your due diligence in trying to get the cost down as much as you can.
Yeah, the static.
And that won't be something
Maybe
we're
it'll fix
fixing
that.
right away.
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, you can't not have the internet you need. I'm not worried about the phone piece. The phone piece is
Yeah, getting
it's
fun.
it's fine. We have enough in the capital fund.
You're going to spend more hours and time wasted for employees just waiting or
Oh,
going
yeah.
outside.
Well, and then
to
you're going to have
take
to
a
do
phone call.
overtime because they can't get into
Can't-
the,
can't
yeah.
do it.
So it actually would probably be more of a cost not to do it.
Yeah, but it's, like I've said before, all this technology continues to baffle where we're at. Maybe, fast track, the spring break, so we actually got directly to Clear Networks and actually got some real clear answers for probably the first time. So they're checking on their processes as well.
Are there any questions or comments? In our motion, do you need us to include the internet piece, or is that?
If you would like to make that decision, that is your call. This has all been on the agenda. Been in the packet, so it's up to you.
I would just include it so we can get the ball rolling.
Do you
on
want
it.
us to put a dollar amount on that?
I would say not to exceed 8,000, because it's just in case there's.
If you would
Right.
like to say 1G, 1 giga to the main line, and then if you want to go down to 100 megs for a EPL, that will cut the cost, but it's really going to only cut
No.
the cost of the enterprise
Yeah,
funds. It's
that
not
doesn't-
going to do much to the general fund.
Then I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the $3,877.50 from each identified operation as associated with a fund, and to approve the addition of the internet not to exceed $8,000.
You think that'll cover it?
It should.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the table
I'll second it.
and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right. Thanks for all the legwork on that. I know that's been just taking up a lot of your time. Oh, all right. We can move on the phone discussion for the moment. Moving on to our February 2024 financial statement. Kathy.
I don't have much. We're not too far into the year, but by the end of February, we had received, for the most part, all of the funds due to us in 2023, with the exception of the last payment from the county for the senior center IGA. We get a payment from them twice a year. We did just receive that, so that'll be moved back to 2023, and we'll be ready to move forward. We have spent another $39,740 out of the capital fund in February. Or no, I'm sorry. Yes, 39,000. Part of that was the police department's new patrol vehicle. The other part was the water heater for the senior center. And we did make final payment of $222,061.52 to Clear Networks for the CNL building. And so I'll be processing a grant reimbursement for that money.
How long does that typically take, do you know, to get?
The grant reimbursement? It just depends. Usually within the month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it shouldn't take too terrible long. Other than that, there were no expenses in the garbage fund. You might notice there hasn't been any in January or February. So I've been on the phone with them. That is, of course, their delay in billing. So you'll see all of that catch up with us in the month of March. Other than that, everything else is going as it was expected. Interest is still doing really well. In Collar Trust, in the month of February, we earned $45,815 in interest on our Collar Trust accounts.
I meant to ask, is that in our budget to earn that interest? Or do
There
we-
is
Okay.
fairly significant interest in there to earn that, yep.
Rates are expected to go down a little bit by the end of the year, just so.
Yeah.
All right, are there any questions for Kathy? I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to accept February 2024 financial statements.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. Sales tax is in your packet unless you have questions. We will move on to the Mesa Park sunshades. Here you go, Mark.
So yeah, we ran into a problem with the power lines, as we've talked about in the previous meeting. I reached out to all three vendors that I got quotes from for shade structures, and only one of them got back to us as far as trying to work around the setbacks on the power lines. I did give you guys kind of a site plan and an aerial photo. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
But the power lines are about, and I'm just guessing because, they're up 30 feet in the air, but they're about 5 feet away from the border of the says we have to be 7.5 feet away from the power lines and 11.5-foot clearance. So Rocky Mountain Recreation designed a shade structure that will, meet those requirements. It is going to cost more than our original $50,000 budget. They're asking $73,915 to install, and it's more of it's not your traditional hip shade. It's a sail type shade structure. It looks good. I would like to have the the regular hip shade, but they're 26 feet tall at the peak and 14 feet tall at the edge. They're just not going to work with those setbacks, so we have to change plans there. I do want to reiterate the importance of the shade structure. Of course, liability with the playground equipment getting hot, keeping our kids safe, with the sun exposure, as well as preserving our playground equipment. I don't know what we paid Summit to put that in, but I'm guessing it's probably in the $150,000 range. So this will help keep the sun off of the plastic equipment that we have at the park. But yeah, that's what they're asking. They did give a few other, and these are just preliminary ideas that they threw out there for a cantilever type. They are not, engineered to, meet these setbacks. These are just some options that if we want to look further into, we can, and they are lower in cost. But again, I spoke with Caroline with Rocky Mountain Recreation, and she said it's highly unlikely that they're going to be able to design that cantilever structure, because it's still going to go over the playground into the setback. There just ain't going to be a pole. So it doesn't look good as far as that route. So I think the cell shade, at the $73,915 is kind of our only option at this point. Jeez. Unless you guys have any, feedback or any other ideas, I'm definitely open to it.
Have we talked to La Plata Electric about going underground with the service lateral?
I have not.
It's a primary line, but they still can. And if it was new install, they would go underground. They would go subsurface. Last time I talked to Tiffany, it was $39 per linear foot, which is pretty close to the $37,000. So it's probably a wash.
Yeah.
But
Except for in the future, we need to replace it again.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how
no,
does the maintenance work?
it's a La Plata line, so it's their responsibility. But just have to stay in that easement.
Mhm.
No, what I was saying is if the cost is $37,000, you already paid it once.
Yeah.
But the shade that's this large, when we go to replace it,
Sure.
is going to cost again.
The installations,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the big part. Ugh.
And that's excavating Upper Park and, probably closing the park while they do that. And, I personally wouldn't want to see that. It would be nice to have them out of there. But that's a whole nother project there.
That's a lot of money.
Is this the only playground that needed a shade?
No, I actually plan to keep trying to implement shade structures. Next year, I'd like to go for Gosney because it is one of our newer, playground equipment.
Would that one be 50,000?
It's probably going to be right in this range
Because I'm almost thinking,
it's the same size, pretty much.
oh, so it'd be like this one.
Yeah. And these prices kind of are mind-blowing to me too. It's a simple shade structure, but, it's not unheard of to spend $100,000 on these, pieces of equipment. And I've looked, Willie Go, they've got a lot of different things to choose from. They got, but all the prices are pretty consistent. So I don't think we're gonna save any money by trying to go to a different vendor. And this vendor, this lady actually came out on site, got her equipment out, measured, looked at everything, had an engineer draw up plans. The only thing we would have to do is pull a permit, or go through a permit process. But other than that, this covers material, all the equipment and the installation, and meets those
So I personally have nothing against getting shade in there, and I understand the reason behind preserving the playground as well. But part of me thinks we need to have a little more forethought in it and plan a little bit better, and maybe we do 50,000 this year and 50,000 next year, and we get it next year because we've saved for it or we've put it into the budget. There's so many other things that we have that come up that are necessities. It's somewhat of a necessity, but I don't think it's as much as some other things that could happen throughout the year, and we're only in March. So,
I actually thought about that.
Yeah.
And Katie and I did speak about that. We thought about buying the material, storing it, possibly in a reserve fund if it'll fit. But our concern is, new board, new stuff, and do we just sit on that equipment for years and it never gets installed? That was one of our concerns.
So it is the same thing that happened to the Eagles that are actually now on Eagle Park, is that there was a goal to put those up, and then when they got the foundation design, they decided not to do it. So then they basically sat in the shop yard to rot, really.
And they did. They were pretty badly damaged.
Dang it. So I just took a trip over to Alamosa, stopped in every small town, stopped in every park. Nobody has shade. They have shade for park benches and picnic areas around the play area or the playground equipment. But there aren't any, none of them have it.
Well, it's like the
So-
library, they take it down for the winter because the snow load is too much. So they don't put them up until.
Okay.
So yeah, this
But
time of year, they're not gonna be
even-
up.
Okay, I'm not against the shade
Yeah.
thing, but we're already looking at, another.
All of our surrounding municipalities that I've been to have shade structures. Memphis has them, of course, Durango, but they're much larger. Ignacio doesn't, but most of the municipalities that I've gone just to look at their parks have shade
Okay.
structures over there.
So, yeah, instead of putting it in this park, I would rather see it in the Gosling Park or somewhere where it's more visible, more used.
This park's pretty used.
Yeah, I was saying
It is.
this.
It is very used. It's used more for people running their dogs in it than there is, it is used a lot. But
Well, But they're saying it's too hot. I've heard that complaint. They're like,
Right.
we won't let our kids slide down that thing because it's too hot.
Right.
So that's the concern there, and that's why it went on our radar for this. But
Mhm.
I agree that the cost is just baffling me. But I also know, the sun keeps beating down on that, and then now we're replacing the entire
Right.
playground.
If you look at Eagles Playground, you can see how bad the sun has damaged that equipment, and it needs to be replaced at some point too. It's pretty old, but it's very faded and starting to deteriorate.
So isn't that equipment in Eagle more equipment than what we have on Mesa? And wouldn't,
No, it's less. Mesa's a larger playground than Eagle. Lengthwise, it's quite long. It's about 50
like, the
feet.
cost to replace it?
The playground equipment, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have to get some quotes on that.
but the Mesa's newer, that's why you want to preserve it. That's correct? Okay.
What's the footages again, Mark, that you have to be from the lines?
The footage of the playground or the playground equipment?
No, from the structure to the power line. What's the required length?
7.5.
7.5 feet from the structure and 11.5 feet vertical distance in between. And I did talk to La Plata Electric. They're guesstimating their lines are about 30 feet tall.
Okay.
And for me, I know Corey mentioned getting a fiberglass rod and trying to measure, but, I'd much rather just let
You don't
these
need a
guys
fiberglass rod. Just get your
engineer-
surveyor out there. He can tell you where they're at.
Yeah.
You can do a 3D model on it, and it doesn't take but an hour or two. It's not that big of a deal.
And just from
How
looking
hard
at
would it be to move some of that equipment around and reconfigure the park and get the shade away from this stupid power line and run it more north and south along the road?
Would it be a possibility?
That's gonna cost a lot more money than what I'm asking tonight. You wanna move the playground
Not the whole playground, just enough equipment to get away from the power line so you don't have to deal with it.
But it's one.
It's a
one
unit, it's a solid unit.
It's all one piece?
So the aerial that you, I know this is an arbitrary red line, but looking at the design that Caroline has sent you, it looks like they are trying to cover every piece of the equipment. I don't know what's on it'd be the northeast section there, or in that general, that looks like some type of a walking beam.
Yeah, that would
Like-
be the only piece that's not covered.
Okay.
It is kind of a seesaw type walking beam.
Gotcha. I mean, even some shade, if we can put something over it and bring it as far forward towards the road as possible. I mean, it looks like we've got a ton of coverage.
Yeah.
And it seems like I don't know this company from Adam, but it seems like they're trying to really, really sell you on making this thing never see daylight ever. So it's like, I mean, I think we could come up with some type of a design that gives you some shade, maybe not the entire thing, and like bring it as humanly possible far forward. I mean, it seems to me like they're really trying to kind of maybe over-engineer it. I mean, I know you spent tons of hours on this. I'm not saying go back and see what they can do, but so I think something would be better than nothing.
Right, I agree. I mean, to have some shade. You know, they're trying to, meet our budget and cover as much of the equipment as they can with this, and that's what I've asked from them, because that's what I would like to see, as much of the equipment covered as possible. I don't want to just partially, and it's not gonna keep all the sunlight out. I mean, the
Yeah.
sun's gonna hit it at different times of the day. But that's what they were trying to accomplish, is to cover as much as they can. Now, yes, we can scale that back, but then we're kind of defeating our purpose of protecting our equipment at the same time.
Depends on which way the sun's going. Where's north on this aerial photo?
North is
So where the,
That's north.
so the aerial photo is taken with north
north
straight
end
up?
would be kind of where the swinging, it's not monkey bars, but it's, and then there's a house right there with a wood fence. I don't know what the.
I guess when I'm looking at the photo, when I'm looking at the photo,
This would be the north.
this is north?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
What you guys want to do? I mean, we have the option to table it. We can kind of investigate it further. I know, like I said, I know Mark's been spending a lot of time on this, but I think those are some valid.
Well, I'm just concerned at the price, to be quite frank. And everything can't just be approved. I just don't find this one an emergency, to be quite frank. I'd like to see, if there's a way we could design it, like you were saying, maybe only 3/4 of it, take into consideration where's the sun rising and setting from. If it's going this way, could we, reduce it a little bit, turn it a little bit? You know what I mean? I just
Yeah, like if
feel
the
like
kids can
there's-
utilize the 3 slides during the day and then
Yeah.
we could go.
I just feel like there's some finagling that we may be able to do in the design of it
And I can go back.
to get it to
My
our,
thoughts too were maybe try to get more of the afternoon sun, because that's what it's.
right, exactly. That's the whole idea. Or, if this is, the best scenario out there, we save the 50 for this year and apply it to next year's budget, and we do it next year. And maybe your whole plan of, trying to get shade covers is every other year you add a shade cover versus, trying to do it faster because we don't have the budget for it,
And that's fine. What I will do is I will go back to them and see what they can do and what they can propose to meet our budget. And then I will bring
Yeah.
that back to you. If they can't, then I am totally fine with,
We take-
budgeting again and getting this done next year. Costs
Yeah.
most likely will go up, but we can.
Maybe they'll
find out
take
next year.
a nice deposit and,
Yeah,
and honor it next year in March to build. I don't know. It's worth a try.
So then I would entertain a motion to table with further information from Mark when he gets that.
I like to make-
Would that include looking at other parks too? Like, could we put just a standard shade over another park without having the extra complication of the electric wire over it? Or could we look at another one that might fit in that 50,000 that's
What I can do is
budgeted?
go and just take some general measurements at Gosney, and, I've had quotes on several different sizes and styles, and see if, it's close, and then if so, then I can reach out and get quotes for Gosney. That's,
But-
Can't hurt.
I'll get back to work on it.
Let's put that on in a motion. Let's go ahead and,
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table the Mesa Park Sunshade decision while more research is done.
I'll second that.
roll call.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Turkington.
Yes. Sorry, Mark, thanks for all the research.
I'm sorry.
All right, moving on to I sewer rehabilitation. Corey, what you got for us?
As you know, we had a GPRS come out a year or so ago and, video our entire sewer system, mail, with NASCO reporting, pinpoints and points of I&I, along with SPM, town staff, and, get this company's name.
RH Borden and Company.
We would like to install flow monitoring devices at irrigation ditches and other select areas in the town to help really pinpoint where the I&I is coming from. With the addition of the video footage that we have, we're asking for $35,500,
And it's in the budget.
and it's in the budget.
Yeah, I read that.
All right.
No,
No, that was a good report.
yeah, you laid it all out in front of us, and it is something we've been trying to do, so.
Are there any other questions from the board?
No, Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the $35,500 for the project to identify I&I.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Turkington.
Yes. All right, Tamarack and Los Pinos Street reconstruction.
As you know, we went out to bid, surprising enough, we got 3 bids back, all under the insurance cost estimate.
Wow.
One still higher than our budget amount, we got 2 under our budget of 500,000. SGM town staff is recommending we, award the contract to Human Construction for the dollar amount of $428,647. And that includes Los Pinos and Tamarack.
And that does not include the flat work, the concrete flat work, but that would all come in within the $500,000 that you budgeted.
Concrete flat work for the cross pans or something?
Yeah, on Tamarack, there's some, gutter pans that need to be repaired and some turbine gutters and
Okay,
stuff that needs some repair.
okay.
Cool. That's good news today.
Great.
Any questions?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award the contract to the lowest eligible contractor to reconstruct Tamarack and Los Pinos.
Second. All right. Roll call.
Trustee Cesaro.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkington.
Yes. All right, Brenna will be recusing herself for this portion. Yeah. We need some WD-40 on that door. Put that on the task list. Just kidding.
Just so the door doesn't break. We just can't seem to win. Can't win
Excuse
on
me.
doors.
All right. Going on to our Cigna Health Insurance credit.
So we learned when we were doing the renewal that the town will receive about $20,000 to, and we got this $48,000 probably the 1st of January estimate for a credit on our health insurance. What they're doing is they're crediting our health insurance. They did the first one in April, they'll do another one in June, and by May, that full $48,000 will be credited against the town's monthly bills. And, basically just looking at usage, health insurance, this is coming from reduced usage of our health insurance. We're saying, my guess is that employees are staying healthier or taking care of themselves. I'd certainly like to have some incentive for the employees, but there's a full $48,000 to consider. Like I said, the actual credits will be big, like $21,000 in April, $21,000 in May, and then the balance of it the 1st of June. So.
Katie, what I was trying to understand, because I know bonuses get taxed.
They are taxed, that's correct.
Yeah, so is there a way to apply this to the monthly cost of insurance that either the town is paying or the employee pays into their insurance?
You could certainly do that. So what you're going to do is if you're crediting against the health insurance, you're going to credit those really people that have a higher lower deductible and a higher insurance rate are the ones that are going to receive the benefit, and not those that are at the higher deductible that may be actually incentivizing the reduction in usage. So you're kind of, and I'm not saying I'm going to pick on any unhealthy or healthy employee, but what you're doing is you're incentivizing those that have a lower deductible that are costing
the town more.
Yeah.
Could this go into some sort of FSA or into a like a retirement?
HSA, it can go into an HSA at no tax to the employee. It could actually go towards another wellness credit as well. That would also be another option. Just a reimbursement for wellness, and there's several items that the town does for wellness, and it's been well used this last year.
And so then how does that end up getting taxed? Because it seems like if it goes
It's
to
a reimbursement, it's not actually a
Okay.
salary.
So the staff would end up getting more bang for their buck if it was in some sort of a wellness credit or an HSA or
That's correct.
something along those lines versus here's a bonus. Because as you just said, perhaps the staff is staying healthier, which is why we have this credit. So why not
Yep.
reward healthy practices versus here's some cash that's now taxed?
Yeah, and not every employee has an HSA
Right.
high
Sure.
deductible account, so.
I like the idea of promoting wellness.
What do the employees want?
They want the money.
They want all
They
of
want
it.
the bonus.
This just came to me on Thursday or Friday. We're actually having an employee breakfast on the 27th, and this is not necessary to make a decision tonight. I just got this information at the end of last week, and thought, well, especially when waiting for a round for fast track, we'll put it on the agenda and see what happens. But asking the employees would certainly be the proper way to go about it.
I like that. I
Table
would
it to do that, yeah.
like to hear. And I saw Kathy smirk over there with one of those suggestions. It sounds like a whole lot of work.
Yeah, tracking it on health insurance
'Kay.
reimbursements would be a nightmare.
Yeah, but provide the staff what the options are, not just it's a bonus or anything else that comes up. Like, I feel as if the way you explain this as the reason why we have the credit is because they're healthy.
We'd like to continue that.
Yeah, so how do we do that?
Mhm.
Or maybe it goes towards a humongous employee party. Right?
I mean, I like that idea. I would entertain a motion to table until the employee breakfast.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to table, with direction from the board regarding requests for additional information.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Oh, she's out in the hall.
Sorry. Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. All right, we'll bring Brenna back in. And we will move on to our action agenda. Just one last time, we were talking about ordinance 499, the noxious weeds. So if there's any other final public input, we'll take that now. If not, we will move on to ordinance 499. I think we had those updates that were noted. You're just looking for, so that's all for the later. That's going to come back to the board. Tonight is the ordinance. Okay.
Tonight's the ordinance. I didn't hear any changes to the
the
ordinance.
no.
I just heard to the management plan.
That's correct.
Except I see some spacing, so I want to fix that before you sign the ordinance if it gets.
Okay.
I forgot to do that.
So if there's no further questions, comments, I would entertain a motion on ordinance 499.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 499 with the spacing corrections.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Trustee Ah.
Yay.
And Mayor Tarkenton.
Yes. All right, don't forget, everybody, we have that April 1st meeting. Tell everybody to get out and vote on April 2nd. Does anybody have anything else to add? Staff? All right. I will adjourn this meeting. It is 8:10. Thank you, guys.